Ella, welcome back to my channel. So we are in July already, so I decided that today I'm gonna chat with you through some books that I think are perfect to read during summertime. I've selected 7 books that I want to mention in here. They're very different from each other. Some of them I've selected because they're really light and you are gonna fly through them, and they're really easy reads that you perhaps want when you read books in summer. Some of them are series or first books in the series that I think are gonna pull you right into the world and make you just fly through the whole series. So I chose 7 books in here, plus I have 1 bonus book for you as well. So I think without further ado, let's get to the books. First book that I'm going to recommend to you guys is something that I've already talked on my channel a lot about. It's one of my recent reads from June, but I still think that it's a perfect time to pick up this book, and it is The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary. So I already talked about this book multiple times on my channel, but this is an adult romance. The gist of the story is that we have 2 characters, Tiffy and Leon, who decide to move in together for various reasons. They live in the same apartment, sharing the same things, but at different times. Tiffy works on a 9-to-5 basis in a full-time job, so she has the apartment in the afternoons and weekends, and Leon, who's a night nurse, obviously he works at night and then comes to the flat during daytime to sleep and spend time in there. So they actually never meet, and they leave these post-it notes for one another, and it's just so cute and so fun to read. Honestly, this is such a feel-good book. I talked so much about this book on my channel lately because I really think that this is one of the best romance books that you can get out there. It's definitely different in premise. I think the concept and the idea behind it is very 21st century. It's very different to just standard regular romance books. I would definitely recommend you pick it up, especially now during the summertime, because it's such a light and fluffy and cute read. You're gonna fly through it and you're gonna have a great time reading it. The next book that I wanted to mention here is also a romance that I read last year. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cute and dealt with a lot of heavy topics as well, but at the same time was really fluffy and was really easy for me to get through it. So I think it would be perfect for the summertime, and it is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. In the book we have enemies to lovers trope, and it's done really well. I normally don't like it, and I think in this book specifically is done well. So in this book we follow the first son, who is the son of the President of the United States, as well as Prince of Wales, who's obviously part of the royal family in the UK. It's a romance, things happen. It's such a feel-good story, even though it deals with some heavy topics, and definitely I think even though it's light and fluffy and really easy to read, it adds to the conversation about sexuality, and I think it's really worth your time, and just definitely you should go and read it if you enjoy romance. The next book that I think would be perfect for the summertime is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book tells a story about a band, the Six, and Daisy Jones, who's an artist and a vocalist who essentially joins the band, and they record an album. The album blows up and the band becomes huge and super successful. So this is a story about the band and why they break up. I know that this story is super popular everywhere and many people have already read it, but I think I only read it this year, at the beginning of this year, but it was really amazing. I think Jenkins Reid, she put so much thought into creating the band and creating the characters and really fleshing them out. It felt like you were reading about a band that actually existed and about real people. Even the way it's written is not written in your regular book format. It's written in a form of interview, so you don't have any sort of descriptions whatsoever. You just have like an interview format, so you have questions and you have people just speaking and just sharing their experiences. So for the author to decide to go with this format, it definitely brought the characters to life and it made it feel like it was a real band and a real story. And I think it was really interesting. I really enjoyed the story behind it. Definitely for this one, I would recommend going for the audiobook if you have a chance. If not, I'm sure the book is gonna be fine. I read it as an audio and I really enjoyed it because every character had a different voice actor, so it definitely brought the whole story up to life and the characters were really distinct as well. But I'm sure even if you read it in the physical form, I'm sure you're gonna enjoy it as well because the story itself is really great and interesting as well. So definitely highly recommend for you to pick it up if you haven't yet. The next book that I want to recommend here is The Wicked Deep by j.r.r. So this book is very summery in a sense that it is set during summertime. It's set at the end of June. The story takes place in a small town. So in that small town, 3 women were drowned 200 years ago because people were suspecting them to be sirens or mermaids. Ever since then, the 3 sisters come back every single year at the end of June to get their revenge. And what they do is every single year they come back and they each possess a body of a young townsgirl. They seduce 3 men and they drown them as their revenge. So this is a very interesting story, and what I really liked about it, obviously it's a summary read, it's kind of mysterious and there's elements of horror in there. What I really appreciate in this story that it doesn't really glorify mermaids and doesn't make them these nice little mermaids that as we know from the Disney movie. What I really want in mermaid stories is the original deadly creatures, and this is what you get in here. So I think that's another really great read for the summertime. The next book that I'm going to recommend you here is a children's classic, so probably most of you have already read that one, but it always screams summertime to me whenever I think about it or whenever I reread it, and it is Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Montgomery. This book has really defined my childhood. I remember reading books, not just the first one, but like the whole long series, maybe not all of it, but definitely the first, I think, 3 or 4 books. I remember reading them, and they just so feel good, and is such a great character. She's so bubbly, and seeing her grow as a person is just really lovely. It's really great, and it's just so fun to follow her and seeing her grow as a person. Definitely a book that really screams summertime to me. The next book, or rather a series that I wanted to recommend, is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. And I only read the first book in the series, so I can't say that the whole series is worth of reading because obviously I don't know it. But the first book, I was really surprised with it. It's a fantasy story for young adults, but it is set in Egypt and the Middle East. For me, if I think about summertime and holidays, these are the kind of areas where you think about when it comes to it. I mean, like obviously Egypt is a typical holiday spot, and then the Middle East is just, it's just hot, there's desert, it just feels summery to me. But the whole story is also really interesting as well. We follow Nahri, who is a thief. She lives in Cairo, and then one day she accidentally summons a jinn who tells her that she is more than just a human thief and that she has some hidden powers of her own, and she's been taken to this jinn town, and then she learns about her heritage, her cultures, and she discovers her power. This story is really interesting. Obviously it is based on the jinn mythology, so it's really interesting to learn about that as well. But I think in general this book was pretty fun, even though it had some heavy aspects in it, but it was pretty fun to read, and definitely I think it's a quick read, even though it was like 500 plus pages. It read pretty quickly and I definitely recommend it. I myself have to pick up the second and third book in this series because the third book just came out, I think, in June. Now that all the books are out, you should definitely be able to pick it up and then read through the whole series if you enjoy the first book. And then finally, I chose another series that is one of the favorite series of mine, and I think summertime, when you have more time or you're on holidays and you just have more time that you can dedicate to reading, it is a great time for you to pick up or start a new series. This is why I'm recommending The Lord of the Rings by J.r.r. Tolkien in here. This story is one of my favorite stories of all time, I think. Probably you know what these books are about. Probably you've seen the movie. Probably you've even read the book. If you haven't, I highly recommend to pick up the books. They're very different from the movies. The pacing is different, the writing is different, and then there's just so much more information, there's so much more world building in the books. And if you love the movie, you definitely need to pick up the books. If you haven't seen the movie and you are looking for a fun fantasy, and if you like stories that are based around adventures and group of random people getting together, going on a mission, quest, thing, wing wing, if you've seen the movie. This is such a iconic read now, and if you have time, I definitely suggest you should pick this one up because it's so good. Just trust me, it's good. And then I've got here another bonus recommendation for you. This one is purely in here because it is based around traveling to a lot of different places and learning about culture, cuisine, and a lot of different things. And this one is The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. I enjoyed this book. I didn't love it as much as I thought I will, but the travel aspect and then going to these different places, it was amazing, and I love that part really. This year, obviously, traveling abroad and in general just moving around is a little bit difficult due to the situation, and if you're really looking for a book that can bring you different cultures and take you to different places, I highly recommend you pick this one up. This book is based around the Dracula story, and we follow a father and a daughter whose mother has disappeared in weird circumstances, and then one day the father disappears as well looking for the mother, and the daughter discovers that their disappearance has something to do with Dracula. Yeah, this book just takes you to many countries, many different places. The book is set in 2 different time spaces as well, so it's back when the mother and the father were younger, and the second timeline is when we're following the daughter following the steps of the father. I really highly recommend this book because of the travel aspect. It's so well written. The Dracula bit, it's there, it's obviously the main core of the story, but to me it wasn't the best part of this book. This is something that I want to read about in summertime. Okay guys, so these are all the 8 books that I came to chat about with you today. Definitely let me know down below in the comments if you agree with my recommendations and what books you would recommend for me to pick up during the summertime. I really can't wait to read your recommendations down below, and as always, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for some more bookish content. This really helps other people to find my videos and attract more attention to them, so if you can, please do. Okay, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again with another video soon. Bye.